Good evening, everyone. It is May 17th, 2022, and time for the Gallatin City Council meeting. It is 6 o'clock, and we're going to call it to order officially, and we'll begin our meeting like we do each of our meetings with the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Alexander is going to pray for us. We may need to be praying for him. He's recovering from knee surgery, and then Councilwoman George is going to be leading us in the pledge. Please stand with me.
Let every heart pray. Father God, we come now to say thank you for this day. We thank you, dear Lord, for things that are as well as they are. I pray, oh God, for all the families in Buffalo, New York, who went through the tragedy at the grocery store. I pray, oh God, for a peace one day where everyone will look at each other as one of your creation and not by the contents of our skins. I pray, oh God, that you would continue to bless all of our caretakers, our police officers, our firefighters, and all those who contribute to make sure that we are safe and healthy. Now, Lord, let everything we say and everything we do tonight be pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name I do pray, and every heart said, amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There you go.
Well, what?
Okay, Ms. Kittrell, if you could call the roll for us, please.
Vice Mayor Fennell. Here. Councilman Alexander.
Here.
Councilman Fan.
Here.
Councilwoman George.
Here.
Councilman Hayes.
Present.
Councilwoman Love.
Here.
And Councilman Overton.
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Kittrell. You have two sets of minutes before you tonight, the first from the April 19th, 2022 meeting, and the second from the May 3rd, 2022. Have a motion to approve by Councilman Alexander, second by Councilman Overton. Are there any corrections or additions requested? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of approving both sets of minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. It is passed unanimously. Both sets are passed unanimously, approved unanimously. We'll now move on to public recognition on agenda-related items. This is the time of the meeting where anyone can come speak to any item that is on the evening's agenda. You'll have 5 minutes to speak. We ask for your name and your address for the record. Also want you to know that at the end of the meeting, we'll have a time for public recognition on non-agenda related items. So if you have an item of concern that you'd like to bring to the council, you can do that at the end of the meeting if it's not on the agenda. So right now, public recognition on agenda related items is now open. Okay. I see no one indicating that they wish to speak, so I will declare public recognition on agenda related items closed. Moving on now to mayor's comments. I do have several events and occurrences I want you to be aware of. First, Chief Beeman's birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday, Chief Beeman. The American Red Cross Blood Drive is happening at the Civic Center. If you want to do something good, give blood. You can do that tomorrow, the Gallatin Civic Center, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And also coming up is this Thursday night, Antique and Classic Cars Cruise-In. That happens at the Gallatin Civic Center. It's actually happening every Thursday night from 4 until 8 p.m. This Friday, the 20th, is the National Public Works Day. That's happening over at the Public Works Building, and this is an opportunity to recognize those folks who take care of our streets and our sanitation and so many things in our community. This Saturday, the American Legion is hosting an event called the American Legion Mission 22 event. It's at Vol State Community College. It's from 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. It's an inaugural event, and I think that you'll enjoy checking out what they have planned over there. Then on the 24th, it's Vice Mayor Fennell's birthday. And finally, I want to remind you that coming up on the 27th of this month is the final legislative update from that the Gallatin Chamber of Commerce sponsors. This one happens at the Hampton Inn. It's on at 7:30 in the morning, and this will be the legislative wrap-up from our legislators. Usually all of our representatives are there who serve us at the state. And so it should be interesting just to hear about the legislation that was approved this year. and you might check it out. That one's on the 27th at 7:30 a.m. Also want to say a big thank you to Station Camp High School and Gallatin High School and their FFA groups that did our flower baskets. If you haven't been on the square, you may not have seen the baskets, but they are out. They have some filling in yet to do, but they always do. And Polly over at Public Works is going to tend to them and take great care of them, and they're going to look fabulous, even more fabulous in just a couple of days. So we're so grateful that the schools work with us on those baskets to be able to bring that beauty to our downtown area every single year. And I hope it makes the students as proud as it makes all of us, because they're one of the things that we get the most comments on. So I appreciate their work on that. Finally, I'm going to ask our building official, Chuck Stewart, to join me at the podium. We have a couple of acknowledgements we want to make. Okay, thank you. I want you to come up here in case I don't get everything right, okay? But I think you all know this council, and I think the public too, knows what a phenomenal building department we have and how hard that Mr. Stewart and his staff have worked to further the education and the skills and of all of our building inspectors. And I would venture to guess that we have one of the most efficient and most robust building departments in the entire state. I mean, we're continually looked at as a model. But tonight I have two certifications that I certainly want to recognize because they're very, very significant. The first, Brandon Howell, will you come up here for just a minute, please? So Mr. Howell's been with our building department for a while, and he has many certifications, but this one I understand is quite significant because on the 21st of April, he became a certified fire marshal. Only one of 14 in the entire state. And so he is able to provide inspections that we used to have to depend upon the state for. And so we are so grateful for your commitment to our department and for all that you do in our city. And Chuck, do you want to add anything to that? This, according to them, is one of the most difficult tests you can take. It takes 3 tests to pass, correct?
I felt real badly for Brandon when he was studying and taking it, because nobody can help you. You're on your own. And I'm not saying he passed them all on the first try, and I think his hair was a little longer when he started, but he held true to form all the way through and passed all 3 of those exams. And so we're extremely proud of him. And the International Code Council, they recognize you for 100% certified department, which we are. And this is a real accomplishment for this certified fire marshal.
So, anything?
It's been a long, hard journey. I've got this one. I've got one more to go, and be starting my certified building official in about 3 weeks, and I'm starting Vol State this fall. So we're good to go.
Hey, I have to say I appreciate the tenacity and diligence even more than success on the first go-round. Congratulations. You want to get a picture with Chuck?
I see him every day.
All right, thank you. And then the second one that I want to recognize, also, of course, in our building department, is another electrical inspector. Now, if you will recall the days when we were depending on the state electrical inspectors, you will have a great appreciation for this, because we were waiting, or not we, but our investors in our community were waiting weeks for electrical inspections. And so Mr. Stewart made the decision years ago to bring that in-house. Well, the challenge has been that so many people are retiring in the industry that even locally we've had a hard time getting those filled, and we were using contractors often. So now we have another commercial electrical inspector in our department, and I find it particularly significant because I'd be willing to bet that Holden Calvert is the youngest in the state. So do you think I'm right? Come up here, Holden. Do you think I'm right about that?
One of the few anyway, I don't know. That can't be proven younger.
But again, a great story with him. He came to our department thinking maybe he wanted to get into inspections, and you've just really taken to it and pursued lots of certifications. And I think Mr. Stewart told me that this is one of the hardest tests you can take.
Yeah, it took a lot of studying to get through to that. It was very hard.
Anything you want to say about this one?
He attended his first meeting for the International Association of Electrical Inspectors 2 weeks ago. He come back and he says, "God, they all look like you." That's it.
Really what I had in mind, but, yeah. But congratulations to you. Anything further you want to say? Just, we really appreciate people on the younger side of the spectrum getting engaged in our building program. So we hope you're here with us a long time, especially with this certification. So if we can get a picture with you for.
Oh, there's a couple weeks left to have
I don't think the council heard that. They just said Holden's a couple of weeks away from having a baby, so that's gonna be hard. That will be harder than that. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for recognizing those special accomplishments. I think it's very significant. That concludes the mayor's comments this evening. It moves us now to the regular agenda. The first item on the agenda tonight is second reading on ordinance 02205-19, and Councilman Alexander is recognized for that.
Thank you, Mayor. This is second reading on the ordinance appropriating $2,125 from revenue received from insurance for bill repair to annex, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Alexander, second by Councilman Hayes. Is there any discussion? Okay, this is second reading on ordinance 02205-19. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. It is passed second reading unanimously. Item 2 is second reading on ordinance 02205-21. Vice Mayor Fennell is recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance appropriating $31,073.67 from revenue received from insurance for damaged vehicles. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Fennell, second by Councilman Alexander. Any questions, discussion? This is second reading on ordinance 02205-21. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. It is passed second reading unanimously. Item 3 is second reading on amended ordinance 02205-22. And Councilman Hayes.
Yeah, this is an ordinance appropriating funds for 2022 year-end budget adjustments. Motion to approve.
And the amendment was made the first reading. Okay, so we're good to move on that. Motion by Councilman Hayes, second by Councilman Fan. Okay, are there any questions or any further discussion on this? We had a couple of things left off that we added. Okay, this is second reading on ordinance 02205-22. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes second reading unanimously. Item 4 is second reading on ordinance 02205-23. Councilwoman Love.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance appropriating additional funds in the amount of $750,000 for natural gas line extensions under the existing contract 2019 annual natural gas line construction. I so move.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilwoman Love, second by Councilman Alexander. Any questions or discussion on this? Okay, this is second reading on ordinance 02205-23. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. It passes second reading unanimously. Item 5 is second reading on ordinance 02205-24. Councilman Overton.
Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance appropriating funds in the amount of $700,000 from natural gas reserves for engineering services for the West Loop Gas Main Extension Project, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Overton, second by Councilwoman Love. Any questions, any discussion?
George.
What did I say, Love? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Councilwoman George. I heard you, but I obviously didn't listen right. Hey, I apologize. So, motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? This is second reading on ordinance 02205-24. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. It's approved unanimously. Moving now to item number 6. This is a first reading on ordinance 02205-20, and Councilwoman George is recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance amending Gallatin Municipal Code, Chapter 3, Alcoholic Beverages. I so move.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman George, second by Councilman Fennell. And this is the ordinance as it was originally written as directed by this council. There was discussion at the last work session in which we discussed it about some of the changes that you all wanted to see made. Then we went to council meeting with it, and you deferred it to this meeting, so it is back before you to consider on first reading. There are a couple things that have been asked of me that I have vetted through Susan and some of the options that might be, but, we can open this up for discussion again and figure out how you want to proceed. And realizing there will be a second reading, you can amend it at this point.
Can I be heard for a moment, please?
Absolutely, I apologize if I.
There are a couple of things that are in this ordinance before you start discussing that we need to determine. Section 3-54, if you will go to that in subsection D, you will see that there are some blanks there.
Do you have a page number?
31.
31, I'm sorry, I'm not looking from the agenda.
Past the middle of the page towards the bottom, you'll see the two lines.
And so in subsection D, this is the subsection that explains how when we arrive at getting a new liquor store, if you have more than the number of residents, what that process is. And one thing that I need to know, because there were a lot of different time limits that were thrown out at the last meeting, if any additional retail liquor stores are permitted to be added under this section, the city recorder shall accept applications of interested parties who wish to apply for a retail liquor certificate of compliance for a period of blank. And I need to know how long this council wants to leave that open. Is it 2 weeks,
Well,
30 days?
I kind of think that might be dependent. I'm going to ask that you not bring that sign in here. It's similar to one that was brought in here last week, and I would like to be consistent. Okay, thank you. You can leave it in the lobby, thank you, thank you. I think that would be dependent upon whether or not we allow for additional liquor stores immediately or at some point in the future. If we set a population limit where that is determined at some point in the future, then I think it would be okay to be kind of a first come, first serve. But if we did it immediately, I'd say we'd want 90 or 120 days. Do you see what I'm saying?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, okay. So, say we were going to open it up right now. The original thing that we were looking at was having it wide open, which would allow us for new liquor stores, and we wouldn't need that. So if we limit it, then we do need these parameters. But I think the parameters look different, whether we're talking about immediately, setting the population so that we immediately have allowance for 1, 2, 3 liquor stores, or if we're going to set the population at some point in the future where once that number is certified, we have X number of days to. See what I'm saying?
I do. I mean, if we open it up to everyone, then we don't need this at all.
Right.
If we're going to have any type of limitation, right now it's set at 7,000, so we're capped. And we will be capped until we get to 56,000. So that's going to be a few years from now. So the purpose of this is really not for us to get prepared at this point, because it's written that
For
it's
the
going to,
future.
for the
Okay.
future.
Page by, say something.
Okay.
Recently, I met with a guy that owns a liquor store in Mount Juliet. He led the charge on wanting to open the liquor license up to the city of Mount Juliet. So they had 5,000 signatures to put that issue on the ballot. Well, once he got 5,000 signatures, they didn't all certify because you had to have voted in the last general election before you could get your 5,000. So he went back to work again, got his 5,000 signatures. It went to vote. 71% of the citizens passed it to open the liquor license up in Mount Juliet, of which there's 3 liquor stores.
But yet in Lebanon,
But that was to have package stores. They didn't have package stores, period.
so it's, yeah,
Until 2000 and
okay. So that was just to have package, that was actually to allow.
It was weird, they
They had liquor by the drink,
had
but
liquor
not
by the
package
drink, but
stores.
did not have package stores.
Yeah.
That was to have package stores.
And probably, I'm so sorry, probably what controlled the market in Mount Juliet is that mega store. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to, for independent, smaller stores to compete with a store of that magnitude. I would think that that's why there are a few stores there.
Competition. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what competition is.
yeah. But again, you know, you're starting out with that, and that, everybody had kind of the same opportunity, right? So that's interesting to put those two pieces together. There are a couple things that people have tossed at me. First, Councilman Alexander, were you wanting to say something?
No, I was trying to hear what Turner was trying to finish out.
Oh, okay. Did you have any?
Yes, so, currently it's written so that it's going to be in the future. If this council goes back to what it originally said it wanted was to open it up, then D will just be taken out completely. If you stay at 7,000 residents or any number of residents, in order for us to make this a fair process, we have to have some kind of a lottery, which that's what subsection D is attempting, because you open it up for a certain amount of time so that those applicants can apply. They have to say that they can meet all the requirements. And then after that period of time, the city recorder will hold a lottery, and we go from there. And it does say the process shall continue if more than one retail store can be added. So if, you know, suddenly we jumped in population, whatever number you set it at, if it's 2 liquor stores, then you would have the raffle and 2 would be drawn. You did ask, so I do need to know, I guess first we need to determine C, what we're going to do. We're going to open it up, or we're going to limit it? And then you had asked about, at one of our last meetings, about where we have liquor stores currently, and I have passed out to you where those are, and I've also had one put up on the screen so you can see. So as you can see, in District 1, there's Broadway Liquors. In District 2, we have 109 Liquors and Red Carpet Liquors. In District 3, we have Copper Steel and Liquor World. In District 4, there's Plantation Liquors. And in District 5, Gallatin Liquors. And as you can see, they are also all kind of compact, and they're all, you know, closer to the center of town. We don't have any really on the outskirts of town. And so you would ask about that, and that's what I have provided in this map to you. And none of them meet the, we had added in here, they had to be at least 1,500 feet apart. They're all more than that. I think the closest are Broadway Liquors and Gallatin Liquors, and I think they're about 3/4 of a mile apart.
Let me ask you a question. Just say we did open it up, in our ordinance or anything like that, is there anything in there for financial, like making them provide financial statements to us to provide their financial strength or anything like
No.
that? We can do that, right?
Mount Juliet did.
That's what I'm getting at. A lot of cities will do that, if you look at some of their ordinances and stuff.
If you want to, yes, we can amend it to add that.
To me, I mean, that would be the way to, you know, I don't know.
The state's requirement, because they would have to go to the state before they came to us, and they have to provide them with quite a
I'm
bit.
talking about us. I'm
Well,
talking
I
about us.
understand that, but I'm saying,
I understand that. I get that, but I'm talking about like Mount Juliet.
excuse me, Councilman Hayes, I'll be
But
quiet.
they came in, well, I was talking, they come in there, and in Mount Juliet, they had to go before the council and provide that financial stability and that financial, you know, strength to prove to them that, yes, they can do this.
That feels a little, it feels a little icky to me.
So,
Well, what threshold would you put on that, Craig? If you ask them to prove it, what threshold you gonna put on that?
that's why I'd like to see a copy of theirs, just to see, you know, and I think he's gonna send me one,
Theirs was $1 million surety bond.
something to that effect.
Then wouldn't we have to go back and do that to the stores we already have in
No.
existence?
No.
Okay.
No,
Well, I'd like to say
I mean, that would be
Why
a
would
way.
we treat them differently?
That would be a way if you're opening it up to, you know, you would still limit it that way.
Okay, do you want me to provide you a copy of their ordinance?
You have one?
I don't have one with me, but I can
If you can get it,
obtain
yeah.
one.
Yeah, if you can get it, that'd be
Okay.
great.
And this, what we're about to pass now, it doesn't affect per se district, does it? So in other words, it could be all.
You don't have
in
any
one district, some
limitations.
district.
No, there's no limitation in our current ordinance about where they can be located. I mean, there is, they have to be located in certain zones, but there's nothing limiting how many can be in a district. Yes.
Councilman,
Or mileage either, right?
I
Councilman
made it no
Grant.
secret. I think we need to open it up because, one, it's not our job to legislate who is successful and who is not, and that's what we're doing. When the liquor started,
sir, yeah, you'll have to, I'm sorry. We're past public comment. I'm very sorry.
when they started, originally liquor in Gallatin was $4,300 per store. We've raised it to $7,000 with what we talked about before. We doubled their business. I don't see anything right about that. If a lady opens a boutique up here on the square, we're gonna protect her when a new department store comes in? I'm not. We're a free enterprise system, and that's why we need to be handling this.
Well, I think we all have our positions about why we feel certain ways, and, you know, I've continued to communicate that I was right in line with you in the beginning, but then when I started learning more about the regulations and, you know, the impacts, I felt differently. Now, one of the things that I would be okay with would be opening up at some point in the future, so that we don't damage the investment made based upon what our laws have been, just changed in 2014. I would be okay with that, and I actually had a conversation with someone about, you know, sunsetting this rule at some point in the future. Ms. Hamacali doesn't feel like we can do that because that is putting a responsibility, or putting, what's the terminology? Help me out here.
You're legislating for a prior council.
Right.
That's the best way to put that.
But you can't hold a future council responsible for what you do now.
Being a business owner, I strongly side with what Steve Fan is saying. I mean, I think it's free enterprise, and as far as in the beginning, I thought about the people having to buy the liquor license. I'd like to see somebody show me a receipt where they actually bought a liquor license, a real receipt, because I don't think they did. I think what they done is they just bought a business.
And they did, but the
And then
business.
they turn around and say, oh, part of that business is for this opportunity right there.
Well, but
I could say, well, you're not gonna buy my business unless you buy this license from me, and then,
Well, it's the value of the business because it's a limited commodity. It's supply and demand, just like we talk about and everything
they're
else.
still my friend, but I don't agree with that at all.
Well, and that's fine. And like I said from the beginning, if it had been this way forever, we would have no issues because by now the market would have settled it.
I
But
think
I have a
times have
real
already-
problem, let me speak, I had a real problem with, you know, damaging investments that were based on a law that was put into place in 2014. The thing that compels me even more than that, though, is the fact that Lebanon has 14 liquor stores. Because Gallatin is about the same size as Lebanon, and I do not want 14 liquor stores in the city of Gallatin, because
Well,
we
I
would
mean,
feel like there were so many of them. Eventually, it would settle down and others would price out, but, and others would close. But again, I don't want to see, I mean, that's a whole different conversation.
Well,
But I think that
the
there.
market will adjust itself.
It would adjust itself, but that's why I said it would be something I'd be comfortable with doing at a date in the future. And actually, I think if we still limit it by population, I actually have a very strong suspicion that the state will correct that, because I think the lobbyists at the state level are so strong with the liquor industry that eventually the state's going to allow liquor in grocery stores, and that will change, again, the whole world of liquor, but it won't be the city of Gallatin damaging our few investors in this business, in this community. There are a couple of other things that have been asked of me that I do want to communicate with you. One was an ask to increase to the distance between, which I don't, 1,500 feet. I don't see any issue if we want to increase the distance between. And then the other thing, and I thought this was an interesting suggestion, that to keep it more towards the independent liquor stores and not open the door for some mega retailer to come in. Maybe you limit the size. I mean, maybe on the one hand, you set a minimum size, but on the far range, you set a maximum size, so that there is still an
You
opportunity.
know, and I understand that, go ahead, Craig. I didn't- No, you go first.
I mean, I get where you guys
I'll
are.
take it,
We-
y'all ain't gonna talk, I got something to say.
Go ahead.
Okay, before I forget it. I think personally, the way the city of Gallatin is growing, we have to be prepared for the growth. And the more competition that we have, I think the better prices you're gonna get. If you limit it down and you only have 5 liquor store, they can control the market and put any kind of price. But if you got more than one, the price is gonna be a lot better. And plus the fact, now, you know, I used to hear the same thing about gas. We don't want a gas station on every corner. You can have it on every corner, but people are still gonna go to certain stores.
I think the difference with this is my understanding in talking with the people in the liquor store world, is that there are regulations on their pricing. They have to set it at a minimum over cost, and they are not supposed to exceed a maximum over cost on certain
You know, the
certain brands.
conversation that I just had, the conversations that we heard inside these chambers here was, and Steve commented on it, that there wasn't much profit in the liquor store. And why, me as an investor, I wouldn't invest that much money into a liquor store if there's no more return of what they was telling me back here. But I have heard the contrary. I mean, I have went out and I have met with people that own businesses, and there's a whole lot more markup in the liquor business than what's being told inside here.
And that's the thing, I mean, I'd like to see us move this on first reading like it is, open it up, but I still would like to see if we can get that by our, next week in our packet, a copy of their ordinance to look at that, to maybe provide, the financial stability of someone, and the distance, those are two things right there that I think we probably need to, look at.
You want to suggest a distance that you want to amend? Right now, it's 1,500 feet. We did that because that's what the state had done.
I was thinking, maybe 2 miles or something like that, or something,
Well, if we
That
do
would be very
that, we're
difficult.
already going to be in violation for these
I know, but
current
they're
ones.
grandfathered in, right?
Yeah, but 2 miles, I don't know where one
Or
can go, honestly.
About 1 mile.
what's a mile? How many feet's a mile? 2,500?
5,640.
About 4,000.
Smartphone.
At 1 mile
Or do a mile? or
from a
half mile?
current, we could say 1 mile from a current.
Yeah, but that's something
From
to think about.
existing.
Those are just two
By street
things.
or by, as the crow flies?
Those are two things that I think we need
Yes,
to
and we need to know, is it,
5280.
do what?
how are you measuring that 1 mile? Is it by, as the crow flies,
No,
or is
road
it by
distance.
street?
Road distance, yes.
Road
Street,
distance.
yeah. But I'm just saying, those are two things I think we need to look at. I mean, and if anybody else got any suggestions, that's fine.
If you looked at
Quiet in the
Plantation,
audience, please.
if you look at Plantation Liquors and going down 1 mile, you're gonna be in Hendersonville.
No, you're not.
You'll be close to it.
From Plantation Liquor to Kroger is 2.7,
Okay, so
2.5.
I think a half a mile.
Yeah, maybe a half mile, something like that. So, I mean, there's any suggestion, but I'm just thinking maybe limit it, and then that way you're not getting one on every corner of the street or something. So, if you
Yeah.
said a half a mile, that's fine.
I will say from experience, the fewer liquor stores you have, the more intoxicated people you're gonna have on the road, because they're gonna travel. I had a store in Orlinda, and people flooded that store to get their alcohol from Franklin, Kentucky.
Yeah, but we have beer and wine stores everywhere, and we have liquor by the drink everywhere. I don't find that a compelling argument.
Be surprised.
I don't, that absolutely does not sway me to want 25 liquor stores in Gallatin,
I want
sorry.
25. You're not
I mean-
gonna have 25 because there won't be the demand.
I mean, a half a mile is walkable.
So are we gonna move it on the way it is?
Well, I have some other,
Okay, she has some other things that she needs to fill in.
okay, so you want the Mount Juliet ordinance in your packet. You want it on the work session, or do you want this on just the next council meeting?
No, you can put it on work session, that'd be fine. We can
Okay.
talk about it after we get that ordinance, we get
And-
it in our packet this week.
Half-mile distance is what I'm hearing, and we're going to open it up. Is that,
Yeah,
Well,
one other thing that we've got that I need to know is in,
Ms. Macaulay, I know this side of the room is talking about opening it up, but the last time we discussed it, we went through a lot of discussion to set a
We've got
population
to vote on this.
threshold.
I mean, we've got to vote
I
on it, so we'll
understand,
know.
but, I mean,
I'm just saying that the people that I've talked to don't want it opened up. They don't want Gallatin
perhaps
to
we
have
need
a
to
lot.
vote to amend so that we know.
That's what I was
But
gonna say.
before we do that, I would like to.
go ahead and go through everything.
Yes, I've got one more, section 3-121 on the beer board, subsection B, membership. I had brought it to this council's attention that this says the members of the board shall receive no compensation, but I wanted feedback from the council, and I haven't received that. So I want to know, do you want to compensate the members of the beer board or no compensation? Currently, they don't receive compensation, but the ordinance says they shall be compensated, what's the language? Compensated as council provides, and council has never provided that they should have compensation.
Is that true of other boards or just that board?
To my knowledge, and Ms. Kittrell may know differently, but I think the only boards that are compensated, they're not actually boards,
Well,
are
I know-
planning commission
Right.
and like MBZA.
Yeah, there are
Those
no,
the only.
I know that no other boards are compensated, but my question is are those boards described in our code as compensated as directed by the council? You see what I'm saying? If it has the same caveat that you're describing there to,
How often does that board meet?
I mean, to me, it doesn't matter. And not very frequently.
Board. How many's on the board?
3.
Did you include the Board of Zoning and Appeals? That, because I've understood.
Board of Zoning Appeals and Planning Commission are compensated.
The electric one, but that's.
They're,
separate.
yeah, they're not a board of the
I,
city.
I would rather not pull that one out and compensate it when we have so many others that have largely more time-consuming duties.
I just need to know how this council wants to proceed with that issue.
No compensation.
Yeah, if we're not doing it now, can we just, even though we're saying we are, if we're
No,
not doing
it
it.
says as directed, so if you say no, then it's no, if you say
Correct,
yes.
then they can't go to the bank,
Okay.
my feeling.
And my opinion would be if you did, then we should include others too. So if they're not being compensated now, there's no reason to.
They're serving with no expectation of compensation and have for decades, right?
Same.
Although I applaud them doing that.
Absolutely.
Do we need to vote on that, or is that something that just change?
Well, that's the
Get
way
there.
that it's currently written, so there's no need to amend that. So I just need to know what direction you want to go for section. I think the only thing that you've really tonight have voiced, and there may be other things that you want to look at, but section 3-54C, I think we need to determine first, to determine what you want to do with either opening it up or limiting it. And then if you're going to limit it, then we'll go to D.
I'm saying that I would like to see us leave it opened up and send it on. I mean, I don't.
It's not opened up currently, so we'll have to amend this.
Yes,
Ordinance
okay.
is set at 7,000.
Okay, that's right, that's right. I'd like to make an amendment then that we open it up. And then if we want to do some amendments after we look at a couple of these ordinances and stuff, we can do that at second reading, before second reading.
I second that.
If you would, for the purpose of the motion, define, if you would, for the purpose of the motion, define open it up.
Not set-
Unlimited.
Yeah, not set a limit on, at this time, don't
Yeah.
mean we won't change it, but at this time, we're not
Yeah.
setting a limit until we get additional information.
We're
So
not-
basically, you would be deleting subsection C from the
Correct.
ordinance.
Yes,
And D.
yeah.
And did you put that distance in there, is that in there?
No,
No, we're
we're
gonna
gonna
get
wait.
there next.
That's why we're gonna wait and maybe amend that when we
So
get
we
there.
have a motion to amend it. I'm gonna ask you to make this motion to remove subsections B and C.
C and D.
On your own.
No, remove
Mayor, did I hear you say that there's a,
B and C.
Couldn't we just defer this to the
See?
next time, the way it is?
Yeah, why aren't we just deferring it if we're waiting to find
see
out
something
about
else,
this?
It's just first reading. I mean, we got first reading, we got.
Well, I think
we
we're
got-
trying to determine,
D is the one that limits the,
right, C.
but then D actually sets the, oh, I see what you're saying. I see, okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking it was the distances. C and D, Craig, I'm sorry.
Which one?
354, C and D, page 31.
I think the point of amending it
sorry.
tonight is so that we can, I think they're wanting to, what I'm hearing from the ones that are speaking is to put in some limitations that are not currently in here to discuss at the next work session on requirements, additional requirements for the people who are applying. Is that accurate?
Yes. All we're doing is, we're just saying that we're sending it on, opening it up. We're going to discuss it at the next committee meeting, and then it'll come back for second reading, and we might, I don't know if anybody have any amendments or not. I'm sure I will, but.
I would hold on to section C and D.
Fine, but, I mean, we discussed it for like 45 minutes the last time we were in here.
No,
We
we-
decided on the 7,000.
I know, and now we're back the other direction, so.
So if we don't just move it on again and to review it, we could come back again the next time and then go back to the 7,000. So where are we going with this? If we
Gosh.
defer it to the next meeting,
Yeah,
I'm going, I said, I wanted to make an amendment tonight to open it up, to make it unlimited, and send it on for second reading.
You have a motion and a second on the amendment, so that's what we should be discussing.
John's already seconded it.
Right.
Right. And that's what we're doing. And then I said, I want to discuss it at the next committee meeting, because I want to see the ordinance from Mount Juliet, I want to see some other stuff. And then I might have some amendments or something at second reading. Y'all might have something. Y'all might not like this, so.
I don't.
right,
we
but
are.
the thing is, then we're going to second reading?
Well, we're going to work
Fine.
session. We're going to put
Okay,
this on the
got it.
work session.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have motion and second. Any further discussion on this amendment that would allow unlimited number of liquor stores in the city of Gallatin? Not the kind of community I think we want to be, but maybe that's not appropriate for me to comment. Okay, all in
Hope
favor,
it's
please
not.
say aye.
Uh,
Opposed, say no.
No.
Okay,
Tension,
okay.
conflict.
Oh, okay. So I have, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, Ms. Kittrell.
4-2-1,
4-2-1.
4 for it, 2 against it, 1 abstain.
Two.
So Ms. Love and Ms. George voted against it. Mr. Overton voted for the amendment.
Spinell abstain.
Okay, thank you, never mind.
4-2-1.
Okay, so it does, that amendment does pass, so we go back to, that eliminates the need for D. Is there someone wishing to make a motion about the distance between, or do you want to wait on that until you see something in the future? or-
I think we said
I thought we
half a
would
mile.
wait, yeah.
We're gonna wait, we'll talk about it at the
We were
next
talking about
committee
it, but
meeting.
it wasn't an amendment.
It's not a big issue right there.
Yeah, because I think we'll change that probably.
Okay, so go back and vote on first reading as amended. Okay, this is first reading on ordinance 02205-20 as amended. All in favor say aye. Opposed? And abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, 4-2-1. Correct, everyone?
Correct.
All right, moving right along now. First reading on ordinance 02205-25. Councilman Hayes is recognized.
Yeah, this is an ordinance of the city of Gallatin, Tennessee, amending the Gallatin zoning ordinance, Article 2, Section 2.02, definitions, Article 3.0, use classification, Section 3.07, commercial activities, class and types, Article 7, provisions for mixed-use districts, Section 7.2, intent and description for the MRO, multiple residential and office districts, Section 7.03, intent and description of the MU mixed-use district, Article 8, provisions for commercial districts, Section 8.01, intent and purpose of core commercial district, Section 8.04, intent and purpose of PGC plan commercial district, and Section 8.05, intent and purpose of PNC planned neighborhood commercial district, to permit animal care limited as a permitted use and remove the use of animal care with the following conditions, authorizing the revisions to be made in zoning ordinance, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Motion to approve.
A motion by Councilman Hayes, second by Councilman Alexander. Opening the floor for any discussion on this. Anyone? questions? This is first reading on ordinance 02205-25. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Pardon me while I make a note, y'all. Okay. Moving right along now to item number 8. This is first reading on ordinance 02205-26. Councilman Alexander.
Thank you, Mayor. This is to provide, to provide revenue for the city of Gallatin, Tennessee for municipal purpose for the 2022 tax year into 2023 fiscal year. And I so move.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Alexander, second by Councilman Fan. Opening the floor for discussion, questions related to this.
This would provide a total of $2,691,850 to be contributed to the retirement of the current year principal and interest obligation, a tax of 8 1/100 cent per every $100 for taxable property. We got a good tax rate, everybody.
And that is related to, the number that you gave was related to the debt, but then that also funds our general fund. Basically, we're keeping our tax rate the same as it has been, essentially revenue neutral, but down from 99 cents a few years ago to 80 cents, and we are keeping it right there for the coming year. Any other questions about that? This is first reading on ordinance 02205-26. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passed unanimously. Now, on item number 9, it's first reading on ordinance 02205-27. Councilwoman George.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance of the City of Gallatin, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. I so move.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilwoman George, second by Councilwoman Love. I do have some things that I need to show you guys tonight. There was an error. I've talked to some department heads. There's some changes that I'm going to ask for you to consider. And so I just want to show you this to kind of give you a comprehensive view following up on last week's presentation. So I put up on the monitor, just want to remind you that last week I showed you guys a budget proposal of $50.9 million compared to $43.2 in '22, a 17.75 increase. That was kind of the breakdown showing our projected revenue, the 1.9 from reserve funds, and the general fund versus general fund revenue versus general fund expenditures. That's showing just the operating, the revenue, and the capital division there. This was not something I touched on last week, but after the meeting I thought about it, and I thought I just really wanted to share it with you, because these are kind of professional, some are listed as capital, some are listed as professional services, but I really wanted you to be well aware of what I had included in this budget at the request of our department heads. So in this plan, there is the Nat Caldwell plan, which is an administrative budget, the zoning ordinance rewrite, which is very significant and overdue in the planning department, a multimodal master plan in engineering, document imaging plan, attacking the document imaging in IT, the pre-fire plan software for fire. They're going to take on making sure they're ready to fight fires in any building in our city. They already do a great job, but this will help them prepare and keep our folks safer. And also in the fire department, the ESO electronic health records and the ESO personnel module. The health records is really something important for the city's long-term protection as we do more first responder type calls for health-related things. This was the utilities budget. I just had, for some reason, I had the words revenue and expense reversed down in the environmental section. I realized it when I was going through it last week, and Rachel called it too as I was presenting it to you. But basically, I had the revenue and expense reversed, and so now they're in the right place in red with the revenue side and the expense side. Okay, now here is where I also want to make a correction. Last week, or whenever I presented the budget to you last week, I said that there were 31 reclassifications, and several of the department heads were kind of caught off guard by that because they felt like what they had submitted weren't technically reclassifications, and so there were several that were removed that were things like title changes or the creation of a position. So basically, there's now 20 reclassification requests, and that slide actually shows what is truly a reclassification request. So you see in the police department, there are several. Planning department has one, Public Works has a few, engineering has one, and stormwater has one, public utilities has a couple as well. Are there any questions about that? I just wanted to make sure that we were accurate in that, and the department heads didn't want you to think that they were going crazy with a bazillion reclassifications. Any questions on that? Okay. All right, so now moving on to the capital budget, after talking to the department heads and reevaluating some things, I have some requests that I'm asking for you changes for. So go to the bottom of that. I think this is really important for everyone to understand because it's kind of confusing. But Mr. Tuttle suggested that we had some money that we're not utilizing that's being carried over. It's about $600,000. And our match, you see those three that have the red out to the far right at the bottom, the Lock 4 Road, the citywide sidewalks, and the Kennesaw Greenway. Those are all expenditures related to grants. So our match is, I think, $587,000 for those. We can use the $600,000 that Mr. Tuttle has available, and we can actually take out of the budget these expenses because the way that we program them in the budget is we program the revenue that comes in from the state, but then the total expense, which includes the city's match. So what we're going to use is the $600,000. So what I want you to understand is even though I'm taking it technically out of the budget, what will happen is when we progress on that, we will be allocating funds that offset each other when they come in. Because basically, we're covering our match in the budget with our existing dollars, but when we have to allocate these funds in the future, we'll be allocating X dollars for we'll use Lot 4 trails and X dollars in revenue so that they offset each other. And so there's a net neutral situation for the city. Go back up to IT, and you'll see that she had requested 300. I thought my numbers were bigger. Mr. Fennell, what does that number say? 304? 8 what?
304, 487.
Okay, 304, 487. It seems like I've got my numbers wrong over there. Anyway, so I had cut that to 50, and what I'm asking to do is reinstate that to the full amount. And so I'm crossing out the numbers that were there when I presented it to you, and I'm using the red numbers to show you what they are now. So like in that IT line, that shows what the new number is. In the engineering line, those red now show, you see the ones that are crossed through, and then the red shows what the numbers are now. In the fire department over at apparatus, when I had done the budget, my view was showing me that there was an existing $400,000, and so I subtracted that from the initial request of 1.7. When speaking with Chief Beeman, it looks like the cost is going to be 1.8, and so I programmed in the full 1.8. I've also added an additional vehicle in here. The ones that he's looking to replace are early 2000 models, and I do think that's appropriate. And then on the PPE, I'm still not entirely comfortable with the rotation on the PPE, but I am trusting the department, because remember, we just bought a full complement of gear, but this should at least help us set on the course of getting things right, where we're not spending $300,000 and $400,000 in one chunk. And so that just adjusts that and puts the initial full ask in there, less $500, because that was the latest number that he was giving me. There's also some other small changes I'm requesting based on department head requests. Engineering needs an additional $9,000 for maintenance and repair. That has a lot to do with reallocating labor from people who work for the city to contract companies, because we're just so stressed with having people to do jobs, and they're covering a lot of territory. And then at Public Works, we have an employee who is out for extended leave, and so I'm adding in $12,000 there for temporary labor. So this kind of shows the impact on the budget, setting this year's budget at 49.8 versus the 50.9. That's largely because we took out all those grant revenues and grant expenses. Again, we'll allocate them when they come through. They will be neutral, but we're not compromising those projects in any way. And then compare it again to the 2022. That changes the increase to 15.3%. And then just so you get a full picture, that puts our total budget at that 49.9 number. Projected revenue, remember, it decreases because we're taking out those grant funds to 47,991,172. And that takes from our reserve funds, 1,888,408, and we're back at that budget number. The general fund revenue versus the general fund expenditures is that negative 1.9. So that's just kind of it in a nutshell, what I think needs to happen revision-wise, and I hope that you are supportive, and I'm happy to answer any questions about it.
Hey, I got a couple of questions.
Okay.
Susan, is there any safety items, it's your department that handles, is there any safety items that we need to address in this year's budget for our park system or anywhere?
Not that I'm aware of, no requests have been made
Okay,
to my department.
okay.
Safety, any particular?
And are we gonna do anything about the lights, or are we gonna come back and address it later?
I think we need to wait until we get the master plan out, because remember, in the budget, there were several requests for several ball field lights, and, I think that two things need to happen. One, we need to get the Parks Master Plan back so we can figure out where the best return on investment is for where we put parks lights first. But then I also think, and this is also kind of related to ARPA funds, we need to fully vet all of our needs and wants in this city so that we have a capital plan, so we prioritize what
I
that
understand.
investment is.
And the last question, I'll be quiet, is the Smith Street, or that corner down there, Mayor, is that in our budget to,
That was budgeted when we did that bond issuance. It's
so
in
we
there.
still have the money to address that?
Yeah, I mean, I have.
Widen it or whatever we're gonna do?
I have a feeling that it's going to be more expensive, but it's going to
But
take us a while to get
Are
there.
we moving on with it though?
Oh, yeah, I mean-
We gotta have it done, so,
Engineers working on it. So,
thank you very much.
thank you. Questions?
I'll make a motion that we amend it to the updated proposed budget
I have another
22,
question, though.
23. Sorry.
Okay, so I have a motion for an amendment. Is there-
Second.
Okay, second, was that you, Councilman Hayes? Okay, so that opens it up if it's a question on the amendment.
Okay,
If
I wanted
not-
to talk about the golf course.
Okay,
About what, Eileen?
let's go ahead and, any questions or discussion on the amendment? Okay, seeing none, let's vote on the amended budget, or on the amendment. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, the amendment does pass unanimously. That brings us back to the original budget as amended. Ms. George.
Thank you. I was just looking at the monies that we spend on the golf course and the lack of money coming in. So I was just wondering if there's anything we can do as a city, whether we can, how beneficial is it? Because I've looked at the last 15 years, and from 2010, the revenues was a lot more than what it is now, these many years later. And to me, the monies that we're spending over there could be used for a lot of road changes and in a different area. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, and I would say, I mean, this would be my reply to that. I think this Parks Master Plan is going to help us tremendously.
Okay.
And I would say that I've often rolled around in my own head, even prior to being mayor, at what point does a city-owned golf course not make sense? Remember when that golf course was started, there was only the 9-hole course of the Gallatin Country Club. Since that time, we've had Country Hills. Actually, I don't know if Country Hills, do you know, Mr. Hayes, if Country Hills predates our golf course or?
No.
Okay, so since that time, we've had Country Hills, and then, of course, Fairview and Poxland both come online. So there are a lot of golf options in the area. I do think, that it is an amenity that is greatly appreciated by a certain percentage of our population, but I don't know what percent of that population is. I have asked to identify unique users of that course because I think that is a piece. in really examining whether or not it would make sense for us long-term for the city of Gallatin. But, you know, I would wait on the return of the Parks Master Plan before we start, you know, kind of going down any road like that.
Okay, that's great. I just looking at the asks for that and golf carts, and that's pretty
It
expensive.
gets really expensive, yeah.
Sorry, that was just something I was reviewing.
The plus for the city, because not everybody can afford to play at the other private ones. Yeah.
And plus the fact, I was always on the impression that our golf course was mainly for recreation. I don't think we ever built it to make money per se, but at the same token, we don't want to lose a lot of money, but
Right.
I think that was our major goal, to provide recreation for the city.
And like I said, I do think it's an amenity appreciated by a certain number of people. I just don't have a grasp on what that number is. And, you know, and
We're gonna find out, though.
you know, every amenity that you can imagine in the recreational world is going to serve some portion of the population. And it would be my desire that we have something to serve every portion of the population, but we can't. I mean, we just can't meet everybody's desire and whim. But what we can do is get those amenities that have the greatest demand by the most people and maximize those and hopefully maximize the return on that investment, even if it's not financial, right?
And plus the fact is, one of my long-term desire is to make sure all of our fields, I can't sleep at night for thinking about it, that all of our ballpark fields that we have built within this city need to be completed. And when I say completed, if they need lights, we need to do lights before
That, John D.
we draw
You need what?
Lights,
lights. I mean, we got these
soccer and everything.
fields
There's a
that
golf
we've spent a lot of money on, but they can only be used at a certain time.
We'll get there.
I hope so, because I think about that constantly. We need all of our fields to be updated properly. And I think the way the city's growing, we'll make draw in a lot of money, not that we're trying to, but we're drawing a lot of money if our fields are open, where we can use them all the time, night and day.
Well, and you said kind of the key to me, which is if we can, you know, generate funds.
Yeah.
And again, not just for the city revenue stream, but for our businesses and our restaurants. That's what, you know, I would be able to make a case for. But again, I hope this master plan is going to be very helpful. If not, certainly, well, I mean, I know it will be, but if it doesn't address that specifically, I certainly know people who can create business plans that would, you know, make the case for those
I think we
things.
need to
Do you have a
concentrate.
timeline on that, when it'll be in?
They are wrapping up the survey. I think we actually put out a last chance to take it this week, and they're going to start having some public meetings. They're looking to have them in the next month or so, and then I don't know how long it will take them to complete, so.
So we still got one more vote to do? Are we-
On the budget?
No, have we already done our overvotes?
Oh, no, we've only voted on the amendment. We have not voted on the original. So we can go back to the budget as amended if everyone's amenable to that. Okay, with that, all in favor of first reading on ordinance 02205-27, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. First reading does pass unanimously. Item number 10 is resolution R2205-44. Councilman Fan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a resolution approving the mural at 118 West Main Street, and I so move.
A motion by Councilman Fan, second by Councilman Overton. Any questions, discussion on this? This is a mural, part of an Eagle Scout project. It's pretty exciting. None? Okay, this is resolution R2205-44. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. It's approved unanimously. That concludes the regular agenda and brings us down to other business. And I do have one item to bring before this council, and that is that you all may have seen this week the resignation. Ms. Love sent out her resignation from the Planning Commission. I think you understand the circumstances. And so this body would now be charged with appointing a council member to serve on the Planning Commission since she feels she can no longer serve.
I'll make a motion that we put Jimmy Overton on in
Second.
place of Linda Love.
Okay, I have a motion by Vice Mayor Fennell, second by Councilman Fan. Are there any other, I don't really know how to do this. 'Cause-
I would like to put my name in nomination.
Uh-huh. So I guess I would need a second for that nomination.
Eileen, I'd love to see you on that too, really. Jimmy's only got a few more months on his term right there. If, Eileen, if you'd be willing to let Jimmy finish out his political career on it, then I'd be glad to make a motion in your
I'll be
in your
glad to
name
second.
and support you 110%, put you on planning. I think you'd be good on there.
That's why I put my name in. Thank you.
I think we have a motion and a second for Councilman Overton. And with that, I would ask you to vote on that, because there is no second. I think they have expressed where we're going with this. So with that, I would say all in favor of Councilman Overton to begin serving on the Planning Commission, please say aye. Opposed, please say no. It's passed unanimously. Councilman Overton, have you ever served on the Planning Commission?
He has. Oh,
That's
boy.
amazing.
He's on a treat.
Yeah.
Wow.
So-
Eileen, I feel that you're on the queue, okay?
Hey, that's all the other business that I have this evening. Are there any other, any other members of the council have other business to bring forward?
I have one thing.
Okay.
I'd like to say, I just want to say thank you to Gallatin baseball team for their participation with our Miracle League on Saturday. This Miracle League that's performing at the Parks Department for our Miracle Park is absolutely amazing for this city. And I just want to give a huge shout out to Jacob and the park staff and everybody that works so hard over there to make this league a success. There's not many cities anywhere in this state or anywhere in this country that can say they got something like we have here in the city of Gallatin, and I appreciate that. I just
Yeah.
wanted to give a shout out.
And the baseball guys were so fun to watch last Saturday. And the fire department was out there again. And one of the firefighters told me that he hopes they get to go every time they have a game because they enjoy it so thoroughly. But that also reminds me of something really important, Councilman Overton, and that is that this Saturday at 10 a.m., is that the final game, 10 a.m.? This Saturday at 10 a.m. is the last chance for a little bit to see a game at the Miracle Park. And you will just have the best weekend if you spend some time doing that, and I would encourage you to do that. Yeah, it really is. Oh, the Hendersonville is coming they're coming to help, okay. Okay, so Hendersonville will be there this week, how lovely. So do try and check that out. It's in Triple Creek Park if you don't know where it is, and it's
You'll
there.
be proud.
Yeah, it will make your weekend, I promise you. Okay, anybody else with any other business?
I just want to ask the community to continue to pray for Buffalo, New York, that had that tragedy, but above all, pray for that young man that was only 18, that had so much hatred in his heart to drive 200 some miles to commit a crime on someone because of the color of their skin. He needs prayer too. So don't hate on him, don't try to judge him, but pray for the young man and his family as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Alexander. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move now to public recognition on non-agenda related items. Time of the meeting that you can address the council. You'll have 5 minutes. We ask that you give us your name and address. And just a reminder to keep it appropriate. Don't use any names.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Patrick Reeners, and I live at 317 Malone Drive. And I kind of like the way you guys passed up the issues on the budget and the way you passed them. But I was wondering now, I heard some conflicting statements from a city councilman last week that really perked my ears up and really made me think I need to try to look out and try to help the city a little bit with people coming here and presenting to a public forum, to the people of the public, lies. Anybody can lie, but in a public forum, with more transparency and more budget money, you guys can actually take to heart what people tell you here, and you can investigate it. And if people lie to you, you can do certain things because you want to take what the people tell you in front of this pedestal as the truth. And you want to give concern to what the people's thoughts and hopes and maybe truth is, and address the lies that make the city look bad, and address the lies that were addressed last week. And I don't care what people say up here as free speech as long as they're not trying to degrade or disparage or try to hurt the city. I mean, you can do that on Facebook, but not here. So I don't believe that this city should allow anybody to waste its resources on looking into issues that were made of lies and charge people for it. Just charge them, because I'm gonna hold them accountable. I got some signs that I'm not hating on bringing my sign out tonight, but I'm gonna put it everywhere now. Get a mega horn and certain people, I can't say their names out of respect, but I can show them that I know their name, and I can show them that I know that they shouldn't come up here lying in front of the city and wasting all these people's time, but when you spend money on it, you can charge them for it. Have a good night.
Anyone else wishing to speak on public recognition of non-agenda related items?
Good evening, Council. Suzanne Simon, 417 Franciscan Way. I have a statement that I prepared. A fireworks tent is being proposed on the commercially zoned parcel at the front entrance of the Twin Eagles subdivision on the corner of Highway 25, Highway 109, and Wildcat Run. This proposal has me thinking about the house that burnt down last year due to kids lighting fireworks and projecting them at the home, and because the fire spread so quickly, the fire department unfortunately couldn't reach his home in time to save it. My concern is, if this tent full of fireworks were to catch on fire, then those fireworks could be explosive projectiles being hurled at houses, and others could be subjected to the same fate as the poor man whose house burnt down last year. Without gravity to slow them down, the fireworks could travel a much further distance sideways. The temporary use permit allows this type of use in commercial zonings, and commercial buildings are much more fortified against fires because they have sprinkler systems and firewalls to protect them, but houses do not. I ask the council to consider amending the ordinance and not allow a fireworks tent to be within 1,000 feet from residential dwellings to give them a fighting chance. In the ordinance, there are some options that you might consider. It states, no temporary use shall be permitted in any district if it will have a significant negative impact on any adjacent property or the areas as a whole. And the other section, or the other portion, is no temporary uses shall be permitted if the additional vehicular traffic reasonably expected to be generated by such use should have an undue detrimental impact on surrounding streets and uses. It is my understanding that you, the council, can choose to deny this based on your assessment of these items if you think they apply in this case. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Hey, Paige.
Thank you, Ms. Simon.
You know, what she said does make sense to me about being so many feet away from a house. Do we have something on the permits right now where they're setting tents up, or are they?
Well, no, the ordinance was written as it was, I guess, a couple of years ago. I don't know that we would have much opportunity to impact where ordinances, where permits have already been granted.
Right. But we could get on that discussion next year. I think what she said
Could
makes a lot of sense.
In the future. Ms. Hamacali, do you have anything
What
to
is
add
it
on
right
that?
now? Do we not have a footage, like, certain distance from?
I don't have it in front of me. I didn't know it was coming up.
I thought I asked Bill that the other day, and I thought he said it was, what is it, Bill? Do you know?
I don't think I'd remember that question, but I think it's 150 feet, but I'd have to check on that. There's two ordinances. There's one in the zoning code for temporary use permits. That's not necessarily that's specific, and then there's one too in the code of ordinance that deals specifically with fireworks sales.
I think we need to look into that.
I do too, for next year.
We've had an email going back and forth today about all this. I didn't hear the end. I think, Nick, did you have an answer on it?
Codes is the one I think
Yeah,
that does the
and
inspections.
I don't know if the property that she was referencing, if they've had a permit issued at this point. Mr. Stewart's shaking his head.
There hasn't been a permit, but they have put down some gravel.
So,
How far away is the nearest house to where the gravel is?
We haven't done any measurements because we haven't received any permit application for that location. So I'm going to guess it's at least 500 feet from existing homes there now.
I mean, if there's concerns, the codes department can shut them down, right? Or not allow them, so.
I think we're inviting danger at 7,500 foot. You know, I think we need to look at that if we can, when we can.
Apparently, the fireworks display was across the street last year, and then because it's been developed, they want to have this spot.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak under public recognition on non-agenda related items? Oops, sorry.
I am LaWanda Black, 514 DeMar Street here in Gallatin. And I come again with concerns of the proposed Holland properties that's at the corner of DeMar and Center Street. I and some of the other homeowners there have concerns about that proposed development. I have tried to get answers to the questions. It seems that nobody will answer my questions. And at this point, I don't know what else to do. We just have concerns, and we would like for somebody to answer our questions. I came up here and tried to talk to Mr. McCord. They told me that I needed to do a records request. I did that, got that back, and they told me that I needed to contact Greenlead. Did that. I have reached out to them. Nobody will talk to me. So I don't know if you all have any suggestions or if somebody's willing to sit down and talk to me, my questions. I just feel like at this point, nobody really cares and nobody wants to talk to me. And we have some concerns, some legitimate concerns, and we would like to have answers.
I think the plans have been online both for the Planning Commission and for the council. Isn't that correct, Mr. McCord? Do you recall?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to dance.
They were online. Council approved an ordinance to change the zoning and improve a master plan, but I was not aware that have you been by our
I
office?
did, yes, and they
Okay.
told me that I couldn't see you for a records request. And then once I did that, they would schedule a meeting with you. But when I did the records request, they told me that I needed to contact Greenlead. And that's what I did. But
It could have been.
Stop by our office tomorrow.
what time I can do that?
Okay. Yeah, y'all check your calendars after the meeting, but it could be that your questions were once you came forth with whatever your questions were, it may have been something that the city doesn't have information or can disclose or, those kinds of things.
And if that's the case,
Or not
I'd like to know, but
Yeah.
if somebody would just talk to me and tell me, we can't answer your questions, or this is not your business, or whatever, but I just feel like as a property owner over there, and something that's going in so close to me, and other family members and, homeowners over there, because a lot of them, they didn't want to come into town. I said, that's fine. I will go and I will ask these questions, but if just somebody would let me know, yes, no, or whatever the case may be.
Well, in the public meetings where they're discussed, that's the good time to really get engaged and ask questions. Once it's approved, there's not much going back we can do. But generally, our planning department is very helpful. I think you could have gotten in touch with someone that was, I'm just not knowing what your questions are. I'm not going to speculate. But Mr. McCord will be happy to help you know which questions we can answer. And we certainly can't require a business to answer
Yeah, and I
your
understand it.
questions,
And
so.
I know that this is probably going to go forward. There's nothing that we can do, but still, we just have concerns and would like to really know what's going on. That's all.
I think we can help you out.
No, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And let me say, Ms. Duncan, as one of my constituents, I did give you a number, I gave you the wrong number. I
Yes.
apologize for that, but I would definitely follow through on this to make sure you get the answer that you want. That's my obligation, that's my responsibility as your district leader.
Thank you, I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Anyone else wishing to speak under public recognition on non-agenda related items?
Second.
Y'all?
Jacob Alexander, Gallatin Parks and Recreation Department. I know y'all have already talked about the Miracle League tonight. Like David said, this coming week is our last Miracle League game, and it has been awesome. It is literally probably the best hour I spend at work all week, and it is amazing. Last week, we had the Gallatin baseball team. First week before that, we had the fire department and the police department. Some firefighters, like Mayor Brown said, came back because they wanted to be there again, and I think some are coming back again this week. So we've been thankful to see Mayor Brown out there the past couple weeks, but this is a formal invitation to the whole council. If y'all want to come out and be buddies, we'll give you a buddy's shirt, give you some snacks, whatever you might want, and it is awesome. You don't want to miss it. It's the last game of the season before we start our fall season, so that's just your formal invite. Saturday at 10 o'clock.
That's not for you,
And
sorry.
my time's up.
No, it's not actually, sorry.
No, it's not.
Hey, and we didn't mention that Mr. Alexander actually does the announcing, and he is so good. He doesn't even sound like he does when he's up at the podium. He does a great job announcing.
I mean, he's stepping up, isn't he?
Hey, anyone else with public comments for public recognition on non-agenda related items? Last call. Okay, seeing none, public recognition on non-agenda related items is closed. And you know where that gets us. Motion, second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Thank you all for being with us this evening. Have a lovely evening. Please be kind and take care of each other. Good night.